Hey everyone, when we talk about decision support systems, we tend to get stuck on the technology, the data, the models, the algorithms, but what if we're missing the most important piece of the puzzle? Today, we're shifting focus. We're decoding the human element.
Really think about that for a second. You could have the most powerful, most sophisticated software on the planet, but if it doesn't click with how the person using it actually thinks and operates, well, it's pretty much useless, right? The biggest variable in any decision isn't the code. It's the person staring at the screen.
All right, so let's get right into it. Before we can even dream of building the perfect tool, we have to understand the decision maker. Who are they? What makes them tick? And how do they approach a problem when it lands on their desk? Every single choice we make is kind of boxed in by the world around it. You've got constraints, right? Not enough time, not enough money. Then there's the information you have, or maybe the information you don't have. You've got stakeholders, all the people who have a horse in this race. And then there's the structure itself. Are you calling the shots alone, or is it a group effort? These are all the outside pressures, but what about what's going on inside? And this is where things get really fascinating. It turns out that just like we all have different personality types, we also have these distinct, almost predictable decision-making styles. It's like our own unique fingerprint for how we make a choice. So how do we even begin to map this out? Well, the model boils it down to two key dimensions. First up, your value orientation. When a problem hits your desk, where does your brain go first? Do you zero in on the task, the nitty-gritty technical details, or are you immediately thinking about the people, the team, the social side of things? Okay, that's one. The second dimension is your cognitive complexity. Basically, how do you deal with the unknown? Do you have a high tolerance for ambiguity? Are you cool with messy, open-ended problems? Or do you really need structure, rules, and a clear, step-by-step plan? And check this out. This is what happens when you put those two ideas together. When you plot them on a grid like this, you suddenly see four very different styles of making decisions emerge. So we're going to walk through each one, and as we go, see if you can spot yourself in one of these quadrants. All right, let's meet the four big archetypes. And hey, remember, these are general styles. Most of us are a mix for sure, but we usually have one that feels most like home. First up, we have the directive style. I like to call this one the decisive doer. So, the directive manager, they're all about the task, and they do not like ambiguity. They want structure, plain and simple. They expect results, they're super quick to react, and they lean heavily on established rules. They just want enough info to make the call and move on. No analysis paralysis for this type. They're all about being decisive and efficient. Okay, next up, let's meet the analytical style. Think of this one as the deep diver. Now, just like the directive style, the analytical manager is focused on the task. But that's pretty much where the similarities stop. These folks have a much greater tolerance for ambiguity. In fact, they kind of love digging into complex problems. They don't just want an answer. No, they want the absolute best answer. And to get there, they will happily dive into mountains of data and look at it from every single conceivable angle. All right, let's hop over to the other side of the grid. Here we find the conceptual style, or as I like to call them, the big picture thinker. This type is totally comfortable with ambiguity, but their focus isn't on the task, it's on the people and the possibilities. They are driven by achievement, they're super creative, and they are always thinking about the future, the big what if. They see the whole forest, not just a single tree, and they love exploring tons of different alternatives in a really creative, sometimes almost artistic way. And that brings us to our fourth and final style, the behavioral decision maker. You can probably guess this one, the team builder. So this manager is all about the people, and they prefer things to be clear and structured. They're incredibly supportive, empathetic, and usually amazing communicators. Their number one goal is making sure every single person feels heard and is on board with the plan. They really don't like conflict, and so they rely on consensus to make a choice, using just enough data to get the whole group to agree. Okay, so you've probably got an idea of your dominant style by now, right? So what in the world does this have to do with the tools you use? Well, pretty much everything. It shows that the whole one-size-fits-all idea for software design is just fundamentally flawed. It completely ignores how the user actually thinks. And this is the whole point, right? The system has to fit the person. A directive manager needs a clean interface that gives them control without a bunch of tedious busy work, getting them to a quick, rule-based answer. But an analytical manager, they need the total opposite. They need a system that gives them a key to every data source imaginable so they can do their deep dive. You can just imagine how a tool for a big picture conceptual thinker or a consensus loving behavioral builder would have to be completely different again, focus on collaboration and creative thinking.
Which brings us to the ultimate goal. Why does any of this matter? Because at the end of the day, we all just want to make better, more effective decisions. And I love the definition we get from the source material. A good decision isn't about finding some mystical, perfect answer. It's way more practical than that. It's simply a choice that gets you to your goal while working within the limits you have, whether that's time, budget, or anything else. And this is how a system that's actually designed with you in mind helps get you there. It gives you the power to come up with better options. It helps you brainstorm and can even help you avoid those common mental traps, those cognitive biases. It makes you faster when dealing with complex problems, and it gives you control over the information you need, served up in a way that just clicks with your style. When you really boil it down, it comes to this powerful idea. Efficiency is all about speed. It's about doing things right. But effectiveness, that's about quality. It's about doing the right things. And a truly great decision support system doesn't just make you faster, it makes you better. It plays to your strengths, shores up your weaknesses, and helps guide you to a much more effective outcome. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. Think about your own team. Look around at your colleagues. You've got the directive doers, the analytical deep divers, the conceptual dreamers, and the behavioral team builders. Now, how would you design a tool that actually works for all of them? Because that's the real challenge, isn't it? And it's the key to unlocking truly incredible decision-making.